Yes.
I went to Bilderberg in 2006. It's on record in my film, Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement. I mean, it's not. I'm not on air making this prediction now, and this isn't a prediction. This is a revelation. This is information where the world elite were in there bragging that they had pumped up the housing market and that they were going to then pump the stock market back up, suck everybody in, and then implode it by design to then create a worldwide depression where they're the only lender, and so that everybody basically goes bankrupt to them and to hock, that they would then set up a Bank of the World we would pay our carbon taxes to. I laid that out in a film that's been out for over 2 years, and now it's all come true. So my only issue is I'm not tooting my horn. This is what they're doing to us. This is completely premeditated. And so they're crazy like a fox. They are very conscious and cognizant of exactly what they're doing. I want to get your take on where you see the economy going now, what it will be like in the jobless recovery, where we're all bankrupt serfs living on the New World Order plantation. Stay with us. All right, Michael Shedlock joins us, investment advisor, researcher, writer. Where do you see the economy going? I mean, I guess just everything will be paid to the bankers. We'll be putting tens of trillions of dollars more debt. Will they all be issued golden thrones and crowns? I mean, is there no end to the corruption? I mean, they're looting us 10 times worse than any third world nation I've ever seen looted. I guess because we were seen as too big to fall, so they can just even steal the gold fillings out of our teeth, and we'll thank them and report our neighbors if they criticize the Federal Reserve, and the Army will go out and spy on them as the news. Mainstream news has admitted that in fact, people won't believe that. Guys, Google Army spying on in the Fed protest. It was in the Baltimore Sun. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, what we have to realize is this is not just happening in the United States.
Worldwide stealing, yes.
Absolutely. It's going on in the UK. It's going on in the EU. It's going on practically everywhere I can find. New Zealand would be one exception, unbelievably enough. But in China, they're doing the same thing. They're all attempting to throw money at this problem. It's attempting to stimulate consumers. How do you stimulate consumers that don't have a job? That's really what it boils down to. That's the reason why all these stimulus plans can't work. But if you notice what they did, they bailed out the banks for the amount of money that was spent. I'm not proposing that they do this. I'm just merely making an analogy. But for the amount of money that they've spent bailing out the banks, they could have paid off every mortgage in the entire United States.
Well, yeah, Bloomberg reported 3 months ago that they already spent $9.4 trillion that would have paid off all the mortgages. Now that they're 14.8 and growing, I guess all our mortgages are paid off and a lot of money in the bank. But instead, we get SWAT teams cracking our skulls.
Exactly, and there's a reason for this, and everyone's looking at this and saying, "Oh my God, hyperinflation's coming! Look at all this money that's spent." No, they've bailed out the banks. Bernanke doesn't want hyperinflation, nor is he. I'm not even positive that he wants massively rising inflation here. The banks want to be paid back in dollars that are still worth at least something, okay? So
yeah, but look what the Chinese are doing, buying gold, silver, copper, and other commodities in 10-year contracts. I mean, the whole world's moving away from the dollar now. We've got at G20 summits, they're holding up new global currencies. Do you think they're going to kill the dollar down the road, or just make it part of a larger group of currencies?
It's really hard to say exactly how the currency issue plays out. As long as now, I'd not only like to see an audit of the Fed, I'd like to see an audit of the gold in Fort Knox. Now, how much is really there? But it's actually to the benefit of any countries that are holding a huge stockpile of gold to actually have the price go up as high as much as possible. So, I don't buy some of these things that the government's, trying to suppress the price of gold. Some of these other things, of course, it's in their best interest for gold to rise. Of course, since when do governments act in anyone's best interest? So all of this stuff is rather confusing. It can play out in a currency collapse next year. This thing can drag on for 10 years. Alex, we just don't know how this is going to play out. What we do know
Oh, bankers just hate that, though. Bankers just hate that.
They're making debt slaves out of people, and so they're bailing out banks. Meanwhile, the consumers still owe all this debt to banks. Houses with no jobs, houses are going to be increasing foreclosures. The bottom is still not in. This recovery is going to be extremely weak. That we know. How long it all takes for this global economy to just completely collapse in some kind of credit dollar currency crisis somewhere, that we just don't know. But we do know it's coming.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate Michael Shedlock coming on the show, and we continue to follow what you're doing over at michaelshedlock.com and over there on the blog spot. So thanks for joining us with your perspective.
Very welcome. Just have people do a Google search for Mish, M-I-S-H, take them right to my blog. Okay,
fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on the show. We're going to come back in the next segment, and I've got a few more comments on the economy. Then I'm going to get into eugenics, because I had that guest coming up, and so we had him on instead of continuing with the eugenics discussion. So I want to put bookends on this and finish up with some eugenics information I wanted to cover. And then wide open phones in the final hour, straight ahead at 1-800-259-9231.